everyone, welcome back to our channel. We are going to get into some UV protection because resin yellows. It yellows when it's exposed to the sunlight, or if it's outdoors, or if it's just exposed to any kind of UV. Over time it's gonna yellow. So one time we were at an event and someone brought up Polyaspartic, which I had never heard of before. But apparently they use it for garage flooring. I always thought that epoxy was used for garage flooring, but apparently they use a top coat. Little did I know. They use a top coat and it's super high gloss. Comes in two parts, just like resin. You can actually use the same additives from your resin in the polyaspartic. And so we got some and we decided to run some tests. Let me show you what we've done. So, okay, so this was, I think, the first one that we did. And you can see, look at that coverage that I got. Like, I mean, if you see the reflection in that piece back there, it's like glass. And then you see the reflection of this thing, and it looks like someone chewed it up and spit it out. But this has also been, you can see my little date marker there. It has been out there for 8 months, almost 9 now. And I have my little tape here, and it's still completely the same color all the way across. So that goes to show it works. And this is on a super skinny, I mean, you can barely see it when I hold it flat. Super skinny piece of wood. It's been outside. It's starting to possibly get some very unhealthy mold on the back, but it's outside, and I'm gonna leave it out there until something happens to it. So not only UV protection, but this is, I mean, that's some durability. I am sure the resin has a lot of durability too, but it hasn't yellowed. So another one that we did is it's on white. So it's on the white. Resin, when you pour it over white, or when it's in white pigment, it yellows, or I don't know if it's more susceptible to UV or whatever it is. It yellows a lot faster. But you can also see in this reflection, again, my coverage was not great. It just doesn't look smooth. It doesn't look like you want your resin to look, your final product anyway. That's the best part, the fact that it looks like glass. This doesn't look like glass. You can see a few scuff marks with our testing, a burnout on the back of it, but this is, I mean, this is what we test. Wafer thin, you know, it's just, I think they're like 1/8 of an inch thick. This is what we test on. Another one, another tester. I got it a whole heck of a lot flatter. But you can see, let's get it. I still want to catch the reflection, but you can see all the imperfections as I go around. The polyaspartic receded in areas, so it looks like there's holes where I just missed altogether. I know they're here somewhere. I know there's a lot of them. I just can't catch them in the camera quite right. They're receded, and there's bubbles. Oh, I guess you can see one of them right there. I lost it. Right here. See kind of where it totally receded. Oh, here it is. Totally receded. So it looks lumpy and bumpy. It looks like you missed spots, which, I mean, maybe I did, but either way, that's not right either. Then there's this one, which we will be recoating with polyaspartic in a moment to get it flat. That reflection is a lot. It's definitely nowhere close to the goal that we're going for. I don't think it looks bad. I just like that glass look that I'm used to. So typically every video that I have already watched, because of course I watch YouTube all the time, it's polyaspartic, and it's your garage floor. So they put it on, they smooth it out, and then they back roll it with a roller, like a paint roller. So I did that, and I thought it would work, and this is what I got. It's actually, like, the feel is quite nice, but when you see the reflection of something, it's gonna look like that. So that wasn't quite it either. So over some trial and error, and some large purchases of something I don't know how to use. What is it? So coating solutions. We figured out how to get it to lay flat. So now with this particular polyaspartic, because not all of them have UV protection, so make sure if you get one, it has UV protection. With this polyaspartic, we figured out how to make it lay flat and come out like glass. It actually ends up being smoother and shinier than resin, which is hard to believe. It has a very short work time and it has a very short, I guess, cure time. The pot life is quite long, which is really interesting. So this stuff works by absorbing the moisture out of the air, whereas resin works with heat. So this one's just, it's totally different, but at the same time, it's two parts. It's part A and B. You stir it together, you know, you don't want bubbles. And the additives that you have for your resin, you can also use it in this. So if you're looking for a really quick, you know, coat, you can probably use something like that. So if you're looking for the ultimate UV protection and a glass-like finish, keep on watching. Here we are a little bit later, back under the table where I like to pour all my resin or polyaspartic just so that I don't get too much dust, although that's going to seem quite useless once I start to sand. So I read the instructions and it says if you're going to do a second layer of polyaspartic, to use 100 grit sandpaper. I don't have 100 grit sandpaper, but I have 120, and this is a new one that I've never used before, and the grit seems pretty aggressive. So I'm gonna go ahead, and I'm not using the orbital sander just because I don't need to. I'm literally, ooh, that sounds horrible. I'm literally going to scuff it up and just create scratches so it can have a chemical bond. Not a chemical bond, sorry. I'm gonna think of the word for that later. But here it is. Really quick. Just make sure you don't leave anything out because, like I showed you in the other stuff, it'll recede. So it doesn't, you know, around the edges. It seems like a nightmare. It's like you did all this hard work and then you do this. You ruin it. Okay, just make a mess of it. Here are my trusty alcohol wipes. I just got them on Amazon. I bought a big old case of them. And I love them. I use them for everything. Sometimes, like especially in a situation like this, I will hit it with my just regular squirt bottle of isopropyl just to make sure I get all the dust off. Because sometimes when I'm trying to get all the dust, the wipe just kind of dries out pretty quick. Sometimes. So after that, you want to make sure your piece is very level. I already leveled this, but since I went and sanded it and moved it all around, yeah, I threw it off. So I'm going to go ahead and re-level this. These are just little pieces of cardboard that you may or may not recognize that little symbol. Little pieces of cardboard cut from the boxes of beverages that we drink. But yeah. Makes a big difference when I go to level. Ah, there we go. Just put them all back up there. Maybe that'll help. Yeah, awesome. I have the Polyaspartic 1-to-1 ratio all stirred. I stirred it for probably a little over 2 minutes. It says to stir for 2 minutes. The first thing you can see with this is, well, can you see? There, it's like crystal clear. There's no bubbles. There's a couple bubbles on the top, but it is already just about like water. It is the it's really thin too. You can see it's not like resin. probably poured a little bit more than what I needed to because I'd rather have more than not enough because I'm still figuring out how to learn this. I like to pour it around and just kind of do as much of a coat as I can without messing with it. And of course on this one, I'm not gonna have the million bubbles that I did in the previous ones. I guess that's a good thing, but it's not a very good example. When I move it around, I think the biggest thing to remember with this, which I learned the hard way, is you have about I mean, I could be wrong, I haven't actually timed it, but you have about a 5-minute work time with this. I go around, smooth it out as best I can, make sure it's a nice, good coating, get your edges coated, everything else, and then get your face right up in it. This does have a really strong odor. I'm in a really well ventilated area, but you should definitely be wearing a mask with this. I actually don't, I'm sure it's really strong. You probably can't see it on the camera. Let's see. But there are tiny bubbles. If you torch it, it doesn't do anything. What I have found that if you stick your finger in them, a lot of them pop. The ones that don't, you ever so slightly touch it and basically drag it to the end and it'll fall off the edge. It's so shiny, just like wet resin. But you just kind of go through and pop the little bit of bubbles. I haven't tried denatured alcohol because I know it works in some resins to pop all the bubbles. I haven't tried that because I don't have any, but I tried isopropyl alcohol. It doesn't work. It actually leaves your surface with marks where the alcohol fell. I have a couple bubbles here that actually might be in the resin. It's like a fire drill. This is a really small piece. I haven't done anything much larger than this, but as you can see, there's not a lot of bubbles in the first place, so if you have to take it out by hand, you may want help, or you just, be ready for that. And honestly, like I said, time yourself. You don't have much longer than 5 minutes. You will see, if you work with it or if you manipulate it, it will leave ridges. It won't self-level shortly after that, and you'll see a little bit of waves, or you'll see where where the drip landed. It'll leave a mark, like as if you dripped it right there. It kind of you'll see that tomorrow. Well, you'll see it on here too. Within 10 minutes, you don't have a whole lot of time to work with it. It is an amazing product, and I don't know what this even is. I think it might be a piece of lint. There we go, we got it. Definitely smells. And that's it. But again, it's a great product. Yeah, leave it alone. Just walk away. And we're back.
Oh yes.
It's a couple days later. We finished you saw how we finished it. It's nice and glossy. It has a nice smooth finish. Unfortunately, I had sanded earlier in the day before I decided to do the Polyaspartic finish on this. So it's not perfect, but you can see it's super glossy. When you touch it, it's actually smoother than resin. I think it's a little bit glossier too, but it's ready to go. I mean, you can dry 'em on it. I don't recommend it, but you can dry 'em on it if you wanted to. But it's ready to go outside in direct sunlight, and none of it is going to yellow. If you are going to use... So one time, it's kind of a story time, I did a marble finish. Do you remember? And it yellowed. So I used a certain kind of paint in the resin to like create the marble finish, and the paint itself yellowed, so I had streaks of yellow in it. It wasn't the resin, it was just the paint itself. So if you're gonna use something, you also need to be careful that it's not gonna it's not gonna yellow underneath it.
Yeah, and the super cool thing about this is it's hard enough, just like resin, where you can sand it and polish it. We had a piece we just did recently where it had a few imperfections, little bumps, a bubble, a piece of lint, whatever landed in it. Wet sanded it with 600 up to 1500. Orbital polisher, perfect. Yeah. So kind of learned a neat little, added a little tool to our tool bag.
Right.
Things we can do where we can fix, imperfections, and kind of a fun lesson.
Right, and create resin work that can go outside without yellowing. So that's always a plus.
In direct sunlight all day long.
Yeah.
It's wild. And I'll show you a video of the sign we did, or a picture or something. I don't know what I'll put up, but a sign that we did for a guy across the street, and it's been direct sunlight all day, every day for,
and it's a white sign,
like 9 months now probably, and looks great.
Yeah. So it works. Tried and tested, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, anything we missed, any more info,
yeah, definitely. We're always looking for
reach out,
advice, a way to learn something new, or what we maybe should have tried instead. So,
show. Have a great day. See ya.